So welcome everybody. You are definitely in the right room for our town hall. We're 1 minute to, and we're just going to wait for everybody to connect. So thank you again, and thank you for your patience. See the numbers actively increasing. So we're just going to give you another 15 or 30 seconds to log in, and we'll get started shortly. So let's get started. I want to welcome you from across Canada for joining us today and from around the world. My name is Tina, and I'm the Senior Outreach and Partnerships Officer, and I'll be co-facilitating today with my colleague Frida Masago, our Deputy Head of Programs for Africa. So welcome, everybody. I'd first like to mention a little bit of housekeeping to set you up for success. We're offering live simultaneous translation in French and English, and you can find that icon, it's presented in a circle on your screen right now. That's if you're using a computer. If you're using a phone, it's different. But if you're using a computer, you can select English or French. And I want to mention that it's really important that you select a language and don't leave it off, because that way you'll be able to follow through to the end of the town hall. So please select English or French. We have a couple of other engaging factors, and that's the Q&A box, which I see somebody has said good evening to you as well. Thank you. And as you hear the speakers speak, please feel free to enter your question, and we'll definitely leave time towards the end to answer them. We also have this feature of a chat box, and I know our alumni really love the chatting and connecting with one another. So please, again, feel free to use the chat to connect with each other. And right now, before we begin, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement from where I am in Toronto. Toronto is the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. A dish with one spoon was often mentioned by Indigenous peoples while making treaties with one another to avoid violent conflict. The dish represents the land that is to be shared peacefully, and the spoon represents the individuals living on and using the resources of the land in a spirit of mutual cooperation. Reconciliation is an ongoing process requiring unlearning of colonial practices and history, alongside relearning our shared past, present, and future. And as I mentioned, there's a chat feature. And at this point, I invite you across Canada and around the world, if you know the unceded territory from where you are residing today, please include that. So I'm grateful to be spending the next 45 minutes with some of the great thought leaders within the organization and within our country program offices, and particularly our partners. We'll learn from them. We'll learn what is going on in Cameroon and other countries around the world when it comes to gender-based violence. We'll learn what are the human rights violations of gender-based violence and how is it setting women and girls back. And we'll also learn how CUSO International and our partners are helping to solve this problem and build a more equitable and just world. So just quickly, so you know who our speakers are going to be, we have Frida Masago, our recently appointed Deputy Head of Programs for Africa, holds a Bachelor's of Business Administration with a specialization in international management and a graduate international diploma in humanitarian assistance. Frida, you can unmute yourself and say a little quick hello.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody.
Thank you. We have Laura Lortie-Morel, a gender specialist and gender equality and social inclusion specialist at Cuso International, holds a bachelor's degree in international development and globalization and an MA in gender equality from the University of Ottawa. Laura, you want to say a quick hello?
Yes, bonjour, bonsoir. Hi, everyone.
We have Fu Georgette, is the finance officer for Women in Alternative Action. She holds a master's in economics from the University of Yaoundé and a master's of arts in social protection from the Bon Renseigne University of Applied Sciences. And I just want to express a sincere thank you. It's in the evening for Fu, and she's got choppy internet, so we will do the best we can from a technical lens. But Fu, if you'd like to come off mute and say a quick hello.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. And we have Odette Kamanzi, a resident of Quebec City and originally from Rwanda, holds a bachelor's degree in sociology, a master's in social science, and a doctorate in education administration and evaluation from the University of Laval. Odette worked as a gender advisor alongside our local partner, Women in Alternative Action. Odette, si vous voulez dire un petit bonjour.
Oui, bonjour tout le monde.
So we do have their longer bios on the Zoom registration page, and I do hope that you had the opportunity to read through them, but we've got a lot to cover. So I do want to begin with a poll to get our situational context in order and for Laura to kind of dive into her opening remarks. So you should see a poll coming up on your screen that asks you globally, how many women and girls experience violence in their lifetime? And I'll just leave that up for a quick 10 seconds or so. And we've got a lot of people online, so I'll just leave it up for a little bit longer as I still see the graphs moving. I think it's ended, and I'll just share the poll, so everybody should be seeing that. So, you know, it's an opportunity to bring our gender equality specialists in. Laura, what is going on, and what does the 16 days of activism mean to you from a personal lens?
Thank you so much, Tina, for the question. So the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is an international campaign held annually from November 25th to December 10th that aims to combat gender-based violence through awareness and action. This year's theme in Canada is Listen, Learn, and Act. It underscores the importance of supporting survivors, educating about gender-based violence, and taking meaningful steps to prevent it. This initiative engaged individuals and organizations in eradicating gender-based violence for a safer, fairer society. Listen highlights supporting survivors and frontline professionals, recognizing the impact of gender-based violence. Learn focuses on educating about gender-based violence, natures, and forms essential for prevention. And ACT involves applying learned knowledge by supporting anti-gender-based violence efforts, advocating for policy changes, and intervening when necessary, crucial for fostering change. In terms of what this day means to me personally, I would say that the significance of the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence deeply resonates with me, intertwining with my professional role as a gender equality specialist at Cuso International with my fervent commitment to feminism. This campaign serves as a powerful reminder of the ongoing effort needed to carve out a world free from the shackles of gender-based violence and discrimination. The campaign's core emphasis on listening to survivors and extending support profoundly aligns with my feminist principles. Empowering survivors to share their narratives, seek justice, and find support is pivotal, and this campaign becomes a megaphone for their voices. Throughout my career in the international development sector, I've had the privilege of collaborating with activists, advocates, and social workers dedicated to this cause. Together, we've designed campaigns, created tools, conducted trainings to raise awareness about gender-based violence in diverse contexts such as West Africa, the Caribbean, and Central America. This year's theme, Listen, Learn, Act, underscores the pivotal role of education and awareness, a cornerstone of my work, especially in preventing sexual exploitation and abuse. By disseminating knowledge about gender-based violence and its prevention, the campaign significantly contributes to fostering a broader understanding and catalyzing positive change. Lastly, the 16 Days of Activism stands as a global force uniting activists, organizations, and communities in a shared commitment to extinguishing gender-based violence. This sense of solidarity within the feminist movement is both inspiring and personally invigorating, reaffirming the potency of collective efforts in shaping a more equitable and just world.
Thank you, Laura. Listen, learn, and act. Definitely something that we're all doing, especially today. So maybe we can shift the conversation slightly and you can get into what gender equity and activism looks like, particularly what countries or programs reflect CUSO's work and our partners' impact in this area.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question, Tina. So yes, so CUSO International implements diverse programs to foster gender equality, empower women, and combat gender-based violence through several strategic approaches. These initiatives involve community awareness campaigns, capacity building programs, survivor support mechanisms, advocacy efforts, and economic empowerment for women. Today, I'd like to showcase projects and initiatives from Benin and Colombia that have been remarkable progress in combating violence against women and gender diverse individuals. One such project is FEDI, Women Engaged for Human Dignity in Benin, operated in Bourgou and Alibori from 2019 to 2022. Its focus is reducing the prevalence of gender-based violence, particularly female genital mutilation. And it's aligning with the UN and the World Health Organization's goals. Through education, community engagement, healthcare worker involvement, and government support, the project trained women leaders, facilitated community dialogues, and promoted the abandonment of harmful practices. The project achieved notable outcomes. Nearly 400 women and girls became agents of change in their communities, continuing awareness and training efforts. Additionally, 262 men received training on positive masculinities and sexual health, while 40 professionals learned to support gender-based violence survivors effectively. The creation of the box Boîte à Images, so image box, a community design awareness tool, remains in use. Despite the project's conclusion, ongoing collaboration with partners sustains the empowerment of women and girls to lead initiatives against female genital mutilation. The team in Colombia showcased also exemplary practices in addressing gender-based violence within various projects. For instance, within the SCOPE project, as part of the social cohesion strategy, they designed a workshop along with partners targeting gender-based violence prevention spanning in 7 different cities, such as Medellín, Barranquilla, Cali, Buenaventura. Moreover, under the Mucura strategy within SHARE project, our volunteer cooperation project, supporting caregiver women to overcome labor market barriers, they provided self-care materials, distributed household chores, offered positive parenting guidelines, financial education courses, and organized film forums for gender-based violence. For example, one of our partners, Fundación Acasa in Colombia, directed their gender-based violence prevention efforts towards women and the LGBTQI+ community in the Colombian Pacific. Similarly, another partner, Fundación Victoria Elena, focused on empowering children and adolescents through art, education, and sports, including gender-based awareness. Furthermore, Fundación Aqua has been working on gender-based public policies, resulted in 3 participants holding political positions as council members and a mayor in their respective territories. So a lot of amazing achievements, and of course it's hard to talk about all of them, but I just wanted to highlight at least these 2 countries.
Thank you very much, Laura. And I've been seeing some of the chat comments come in. I'll just say a couple of them. So Laura was speaking about Benin and Colombia programming. I know that was a question that came in. And what I'm noticing is you talked about LGBTQI+ in Colombia. I know someone online just represented themselves from that community. So a lot is being done across the countries around gender equality. And there's a lot to learn and a lot to share. I know our country program offices have developed various resources and toolkits. So anyone who is interested, do please reach out and we can share those with you. We're going to have Laura back again to share a couple more reflections and insights. But thank you, Laura. And now what I would like to do is move the conversation and give Frida Misago. I remember her explaining, saying, think of it as a double S, even though there's only one S in her name. So Misago to the mic. And Frida, maybe you can roll it back a little bit and get us into the who, what, and why of CUSO International. And then as the Deputy Head of Africa, maybe you can give us some insights of what we're doing across the continent in relation to gender equity and activism to support activism against our 16 days of GBV. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Tina. And it's a wonderful team that we have around here. And welcome to everybody for this wonderful conversation. So as she mentioned really well, my name is Frida Misago. I am the Deputy Head of Programs for Africa continent here at CUSO International. And for those of you who don't know, CUSO International is actually a Canadian non-governmental organization who really aims to reduce inequality through efforts towards highly skilled volunteers, collaborative partnership, and compassionate donors. So precisely, CUSO collaborate with partners to enhance women's and girls' empowerment, promote also inclusive livelihood, and advance gender equality. So recently, actually this year, we have just completed and also specialized our strategic plan that is also available on our website, and is between now 2023 all the way to 2027, where we have a commitment towards building a meaningful legacy of impact within the international cooperation regarding three main priorities. So the first one is on strengthening gender equality and social inclusion, where actively we're addressing inequality, injustice, and marginalization in the pursuit of equality. We also work towards advancing economic resilience, towards embracing and gaining more momentum for women and girls, towards getting more opportunity within the remaining and respective communities in the region. And then finally, also advocate and advance climate actions. So within all that, of course, the question is what we're doing in Africa. So first and foremost, we like to really contribute to break those cycles of violence by engaging into community-based projects, advocating towards policy change, and collaborating with local partners towards creating those environments where women and girls can thrive without fear of harm or discrimination. So in that particular example, what we try to do precisely in two countries is to reduce economic violence and social violence. Precisely in Cameroon, we have a project called Tech Woman Factory, where we harness the potential amongst women and girls so that they receive a specialized job, specific training they need to be able to actually stand out within the labor market where they are, and also match with suitable position, and also have access to mentorship and funding support, or also their businesses. So in there, we were able to support more than 80% of women out of close to 200 participants. And it was also outstanding to see not only their expertise, but also their soft skills being enhanced for them to be able to stand out and be able to get accessibility to professional path of their choice. And also we have a similar project where we have a bilateral project with both the government of Sweden and the government of Canada at the Democratic Republic of Congo, where we work on a project called Talent Pluriel, where we support LGBTQ+ communities and also different women with vulnerable situation, also for women who are with disabilities. So the perfect example I can give you, we offer support and training to women who have ideas of business, such as opening bank accounts, giving them the training to better understand how to stand out, and also better equip themselves to prepare a strategic business plan to be able to finally start their businesses. So those are just quick examples that I can give of what we're doing here within the African continent as we're trying to do more. But I'm excited to be able to share and excitedly see all the other questions and exchange we can do related to the subject.
Thank you so much, Frida, for giving us that overview, particularly of our program within the continent. You have definitely demonstrated clearly how our work is helping to raise the voice of women and girls. And I'm also seeing some comments around translation. So for those of you who came in a little bit late, there's an interpretation button at the bottom of your screen if you're using a computer. So please select English or French and keep on that channel for the full length of the town hall. So I'll give you a moment to situate yourself. And while you're doing that, I think it's as we go into the second half of our programming with Frida and Fu and Odette, what I'd like to do is set them up for success so that they can speak to programming specifically within Cameroon. So I'm going to do a second poll to just garner people's understanding of the gravity of why we're here today and why we're looking for solutions. So now you should be seeing the second sondage, the second poll, and it's talking about a few years away. 2030 is not that long away, far away, I should say. How many girls under the age of 18 are at risk of being forced to marry against their will? And I'll just leave that up. Again, really great to see the numbers of participation in this town hall. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today and to learn. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results. It seems to be a little bit split. So I'm sharing those results. Unfortunately, it's not the 12 million number, it's the 120 million number, which is extremely dire. This number is a report that is coming out of the Office of the High Commission for Human Rights and Women's and Human Rights and Gender Equality. There are some reports that have this even higher at 150 million. So now I think it's an impactful time to turn things over to Frida, who and Fu, our finance officer from our local partner in Cameroon. So once again, Fu has her camera off, although she's very beautiful. She had it on earlier. She's having technical difficulties, so we're just trying to minimize the streaming, but you should be able to hear her clearly. They're going to have a conversation together and give us the situational context and the work of the community that Women in Alternative Action is doing. So Frida, I turn the facilitation over to you.
Thank you so much, Tina, and thank you for this wonderful beginning of conversation throughout this really important subject that we're currently dealing with. So first and foremost, thank you, Fu, for joining us today. And maybe I can ask you maybe to start the conversation to give us maybe an idea of how is it a day in the life of a woman in Cameroon and the work that you're precisely doing in your respective organization so we can better understand the reality and also your day-to-day work.
Thank you very much, Frida, for giving me the floor. As Tina earlier introduced me, my name is Fu Georgette. I work for Women in Alternative Action Cameroon. Women in Alternative Action Cameroon is one of Cameroon's leading NGOs in enabling effective human rights promotion and protection. At WA Cameroon, we innovate, we build for equality, we enhance sustainable and quality partnerships, and we redesign tables for peace. In WA Cameroon, we work under 5 key program areas, and gender justice is one of them, and it is actually the niche of WA Cameroon. And under this program area, we work to eliminate harmful sociocultural practices, including child marriage and female genital mutilation. We promote and protect the sexual and reproductive health and rights of women and girls, and we also provide psychosocial support to survivors of gender-based violence. We also intervene under other program areas such as peace building, research and documentation, empowering youth for the next generation, economic empowerment of women, girls, and female IDPs so that they can become financially independent. We also work on law reform and policy review. And I also want to emphasize that under this particular program area, WA Cameroon has been able to propose a draft law on child marriage, which is actually at the level of the government for adoption. And as what concerns CUSO, WA Cameroon has been working with CUSO since 2012, and this partnership was renewed in 2020. And the aim of the partnership was actually to improve gender equality, free, peaceful, and cohesive communities, and to improve economic justice and livelihood development support for vulnerable women and girls. WA Cameroon is very grateful to CUSO International for her financial and technical support. Thank you.
Wonderful, and thank you so much for really precisely and referring to the call for action for everyone to be on the line to get involved, so the change can actually be more enhanced and also being done collectively. Precisely even more being impressed of how you're not only supporting the women on specific issues that they're dealing with, especially on the psychological support, which most of the time is neglected. So very happy to hear about that. And now we would like to bring one of our wonderful alumni, someone who has been part of a volunteer program for almost 3 to 4 times already. So I'm very happy to see someone who's returned from Cameroon, as she was a gender advisor with WAA and the Queens of Peace program. So I'm very happy to welcome and introduce Odette Kamanzi. Over to you. We don't seem to hear you yet, Odette.
Odette, vous êtes sur mute.
Non.
Voilà,
Voilà, super.
OK.
Over to you.
OK. Merci beaucoup. Je me présente, c'est Odette Kamanzi, coopérante volontaire de CUSO International depuis 2017 au Cameroun, à Yaoundé. Je suis partie justement de 3 fois, une fois avec le bureau, la deuxième fois avec FEDEC. FEDEC, c'est la Fondation pour l'environnement et le développement au Cameroun. Et la troisième fois, c'était avec WA Cameroun. C'était avec Women in Alternative Action. Là, c'est là où on a travaillé très fort sur la violence basée sur le genre, quand on a travaillé sur le mariage d'enfants. Donc, notre mission, c'était éduquer les filles, parler avec les reines de la paix, parce que nous savons très bien que les reines de la paix, elles ont des influences extraordinaires pour la communauté au Cameroun. Alors, nous avons travaillé sur le mariage d'enfants. On a travaillé sur boîte à images, sur le mariage d'enfants et toutes sortes de violences basées sur le genre. On a fait un grand développement car avec l'appui de bureau de CUSO International à Yaoundé et en collaboration avec WA Cameroun, nous avons éduqué et nous avons fait des formations, des formateurs de plus de 4 régions de Cameroun et surtout dans l'Ouest. Et dans l'Ouest, nous avons travaillé avec plus de 60 femmes et les reines de la paix et avec les filles. Nous avons fait 4 formations et après notre formation, les formateurs, ils ont fait aussi 9 formations après notre formation de départ et ils ont organisé aussi des rencontres de plus de 400 femmes dans 4 régions par exemple. Donc, je remercie CUSO qui m'a donné l'opportunité d'aller travailler comme coopérant international au Cameroun. Et puis, pour moi, c'est mon engagement personnel, c'est mon engagement comme femme, comme féministe, comme sociologue et puis comme mère. Sur la violence basée sur le genre, je me bats sans cesse et encore moins sur la violence basée sur le genre et puis le mariage d'enfants. Parce que c'est ça qui cause d'abord la pauvreté, c'est ça qui cause l'arrêt des études de jeunes filles et aussi c'est ça qui amène le mélancolie entre les familles et dans le couple. Donc, je me bats toujours, je me battrai à chaque fois qu'il y aura une occasion pour la lutte de violence basée sur le genre. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much, Odette. This is highly appreciated. And we can hear through your voice the passion that you have toward this specific subject that is certainly very not always easy to engage, especially listening to those young girls and women in their realities, but it's really impactful to hear the number of women who were supported throughout the process that you were there as a volunteer. So before we continue, just a friendly reminder to the audience that this part will be in French, and just a reminder that the audience can use the live interpretation if needed. So as we move forward, maybe I can ask Odette now, how are you? And how fortunate do you think as you are as a returning volunteer, and maybe share with us even maybe deeper what drives you to be an international volunteer, and now what do you do with it? Just go back to unmute.
Sorry.
No
Okay.
worries, that's perfect.
OK. Je disais que c'est d'abord sur mon engagement personnel. J'ai eu la chance d'être au Canada. J'ai eu la chance de faire mes études au Canada jusqu'au niveau de doctorat que je suis en train de terminer. Et c'est dans la sociologie de la famille, cette sociologie contemporaine. Et aussi, je suis une féministe engagée. Mais avant tout, moi, je voulais vraiment donner au suivant. J'ai eu la chance d'avoir mes compétences et mes connaissances que je voulais partager avec les autres qui n'ont pas eu aussi assez de chance. Merci.
This is beautiful to hear. It's always good, especially in terms of all the way going to your PhD and then thriving more. And then being also an activist is great because you get to engage and do more as you go throughout your journey to become a specialist into it. So with that, maybe can you give us maybe a little bit more insight on how was your various placement, or maybe there's one that really interests you more, and what was your day like as a volunteer in Cameroon working with women in alternative action?
OK. Pour moi, travailler avec WA Cameroun, c'était pour moi une fierté, je dirais, parce que je suis moi-même à la base de partenariat avec WA International, WA Cameroun. J'étais en train de travailler avec les femmes un peu partout au Cameroun. Je suis tombée sur la directrice de WA, malheureusement la défunte aujourd'hui, que paix à son âme. Et j'ai insisté qu'ils puissent être les partenaires qui sont internationaux parce que j'épousais vraiment leur idée, leur idéologie de mariage d'enfants et puis de violence basée sur le genre. Alors, ils ont répondu tout à fait présent et arrivé au bureau avec les membres du bureau, tout le monde était content de travailler avec eux. Alors, pour moi, c'était une réussite encore de plus pour aider les femmes et pour aider surtout les jeunes filles sur le mariage d'enfants surtout. C'est pour cela qu'on a fait même boîte à images là-dessus et qu'on allait voir les Queens for Peace, dont les reines pour la paix, parce qu'on sait très bien qu'elles peuvent nous aider aussi à mobiliser la communauté à mobiliser la communauté locale, je dirais. Alors, pour moi, retourner au Cameroun, que ce soit la deuxième fois ou la troisième fois, pour moi, c'était facile. La troisième fois, c'était après Covid et je voulais vraiment briser la glace parce que c'était la première fois qu'une coopérante volontaire retourne encore sur le terrain et je voulais que tout le monde sache que c'est pas encore fini et on ne les a pas abandonnés. Alors, je ne voulais pas que les gens avec qui on a travaillé, les partenaires, puis le bureau, se sentent que nous sommes bien au Canada et on les a abandonnés au moment où on a commencé avec le travail. Je suis partie, j'ai fait 6 mois là-bas et on a commencé justement à travailler encore une fois avec les reines et avec quoi. On a travaillé très fort et ce qui me rend encore heureuse et fière dans tout ça, parce que même après mon départ, maintenant ça va faire un an, et continue encore à faire, malgré tout ce qui s'est passé, malgré mon absence, malgré l'absence de la femme qui est décédée, qui était la directrice, mais l'équipe continue. On les a laissé les outils, mais ils continuent, l'équipe continue, ils vont à l'est, ils vont à l'ouest, ils vont même là où on n'a pas pu aller Donc, aujourd'hui, il travaille encore là-dessus. Et pour moi, comme mère surtout de la famille, comme sociologue et comme militante de féminisme, je me sens là-dedans. Je trouve que c'est vraiment notre rôle de porter la voix et de parler là où ils ne peuvent pas parler, d'aller où les autres ne peuvent pas aller, mais de faire tout descendre au moins sur nos racines en même temps, entre guillemets, même si je suis canadienne, d'origine québécoise, mais je n'oublie pas aussi mes racines. Merci beaucoup.
This is very, very beautiful to hear, because it's always like you were mentioning in the beginning, how you want to give back, but also when you give back, you hope that the job continues to get done while you're not there. So if ever you have to go back to check in, you always be able to see the work that's been increasing. So thank you so much for your drive, Odette. Thank you for the wisdom, and also mostly thank you for what you're doing and the party doing to make the subject of gender violence something different for the years to come. So thank you for that, and I'll turn it back thanks to Tina.
Thank you very much. What a great conversation you've had with Fu and Odette. Both of your hearts and the work that's done. So from a personal narrative, I was in Cameroon last year and I got to see all of this work. So it touches me from a personal lens as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I see some questions in, and I saw some chats around getting specific about initiatives. We're going to get to that Q&A momentarily. But before we do, I thought I would bring Laura back. And Laura, if you can give us maybe one or two examples of some gender volunteer placements that CUSO is looking to fill. And to the audience members, if you happen to see yourself in these roles, or you know somebody who fits this profile, please do have them apply online. And I'm just going to share a slide of kind of what that looks like when you come to the volunteer portal. So over to you, Laura.
Yes, thanks, Tina. Actually, great timing. We have two exciting volunteering opportunities in Benin and Cameroon as gender equality and social inclusion advisors. In Cameroon, we have an interesting opportunity that is related to basically support in gender mainstreaming activities, the country office of CUSO International in Yaoundé, Cameroon, but also collaborating with various partners such as Women and Family Promotion Centers, Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Family. Also, some activities related to that placement encompasses organizing, facilitating training activities, leading gender processes and programming, and organizing awareness sessions against the phenomenon of early marriage, as Odette was mentioning. And the skills required for this placement is basically at least 5 years of relevant work experience in gender equality, social inclusion, having university degrees in disciplines relevant to this role. So everything related to sociology, social work, or gender studies, and also the need to speak French. I will share also the links in the chat if possible. If not, it's the two positions are actually available on all our social media platforms and on our website, cusointernational.org. And the second placement that I wanted to quickly highlight as well is in Benin. It's the same position, so gender equality and social inclusion advisor. And the skills required are a bit similar, having an university degrees in gender studies, social sciences, and of course, welcoming those with substantial experience in advocating for gender equality, either professionally or through volunteer work. And the responsibilities is also supporting directly a country program office of CUSO International, but this time, of course, it's in Cotonou, Benin. And during this placement, the goal is to develop training program on gender equality, social inclusion, also collaborating with various partners in contact with the office, using intersectional perspective for partners in both in different communities. And so very exciting opportunities to volunteering. If you feel that you correspond to those profiles, please don't hesitate to have a look out on our social media platforms where we promote these positions, and of course on our website. Thank you, Tina. Back to you.
Thank you, Laura. So Laura just shared two specific to the topic that we're talking about today, but what you see on your slide right now is just to highlight that we have lots of different streams of skilled areas that we require skilled volunteers. So do go to cusointernational.org, and you also see the recruitment email there as well. So thank you for that. And now you have the stage. Our audience members have the stage. So I'm going to stop the presentation and open the Q&A panel. And just know that we had a couple of questions come in advance. Since we have quite a few here, I'll just ask one of them. What are some of the initiatives that are working well? And this could be multiple different kinds of initiatives. And I think I'll throw that question to Frida.
Thank you so much, Tina, for the questions. Highly appreciated. So when it comes to initiative, we have to go back, I think, to the basics. So first and foremost is to understand what type of violence we're trying to reduce related to gender-based violence. As there is, first and foremost, there is physical, sexual, economic, social, emotional, psychological, and sometimes online violences that occur within that particular subject. And I think that both Laura, Fu, and Odette mentioned them very well in their respectful examples. So in that component, when we look at those elements, we have to understand which one we would like to really target precisely. And then after that, to look into the communities we're trying to reach or support and help. And that includes looking at the country. So we have to go all the way to look at the political, economical, social, and even the regional concept of what needs to be reached to be able to have an effective project out of it. So into that, we can look into community-based programs who are more towards either mobilization or more project implementation. I'm just thinking about our various programs I was just explaining, both in DRC with Talent Pluriel and also in Cameroon with Tech Woman Factory. We also have some kind of legal reforms or advocacy where we look towards particular policies that needs to be enhanced and have collaboration with the government. We also have educational awarenesses or campaigns where we get to really look into the approach where we want to change certain norms to advocate and move better the responses to prevent such violences. And also even more, it could be even any other activities when it comes to advocacy to really see how we can better spread awareness and also touch the people around who are affected by it. And then finally, it can also be community building in terms of also giving training, support for them to understand the reality that's going on, the terminology, the definitions regarding it, also have a self-awareness of their reality, and then see how we can best support them in the specific targets or type of violence that they're going through, which was an example that Odette gave. But at the end of the day, we have to know which type of violence we're trying to target and then see which community, so the country, the region, and then to precisely, if it's a specific community, what is the demand, the need, and then look at both the logistic component and also in terms of staffing, how we can best support. I don't know if the rest of the panel would like to add more as we can engage in towards this particular subject.
Thank you, Frida. So I want to remind our audience members that we have a volunteer who's volunteered 3 times, Odette here, and we have Fu, a partner that we're working with in Cameroon. And this is a real opportunity to have, first-person narratives of the work and partnerships that are going on in country. We also have gender specialists in Laura, and we have the deputy head of programs, Frida. So this is really the time for you to ask your questions. I see there's one that I'll ask in French, and there's another one in English, but they are combined. So in the interest of time, I'm going to combine the 2 of them, but I'm going to read it out in French. And it's probably again for Frida as the deputy head of programs. So, besoin de savoir les projets en cours à l'ouest du Cameroun et les possibilités de collaboration avec les associations locales. And the other question is kind of similar in trying to figure out, I guess, the process or logistical operations of how organizations, this one particularly speaks to the DRC and Congo, how they can get involved as a local organization, and perhaps what some of that process is like. I know it's a tricky question, it's never easy, but we do get these during our town halls. So over to you, Frida.
Thank you so much, Tina. And I think there's never a wrong question to ask in such settings. So I think it's a beautiful thing that they ask. I think I can start first and foremost by saying that we are fortunate enough at CUSO International to have country offices. So we have specific staff members who are engaging in those respective projects. And I'm very happy to announce that we have already local partners working in those respective projects. So both in Cameroon and in DRC. So the good news is that we can start with a conversation into understanding what is the mission of of the partner. So the ones who would like to engage with us, towards understanding where we can connect and align towards a common outcome, and also a common successful story at the end of the project. At the moment, we're always open to create an avenue of discussion to be able to see when we can engage and also how we can be effective for both parties. So what I would recommend possibly, Tina, is probably to get my contact into the chat so we can really go in terms of case by case. For the example of Cameroon, they just completed the group who were supported. So they were close to 200 participants, where 80% were women between the age of 18 and 35. So in that particular case, we're considering renewing this project and see how we can better thrive. So that could be an avenue where the partner can already come and engage with us. For the case of the Democratic Republic of Congo, when it comes to DRC, we're actually ongoing with our third and fourth cohort. So the new cohort has already started with the training. So the participants have already been selected for a particular city. So it was in Kinshasa, and in Bukavu, in Lubumbashi, we're actually recruiting the participant. So that could be an avenue where we can see where the particular partner can come and join, depending, of course, the expertise where they would like to engage with us. So I think the first, like I said, the first thing will be to start a conversation and see how we can align together.
Thank you, Frida. And maybe I'll go to another question that we got in a bit earlier, which was focused on how communities can work together to prevent gender-based violence. And I think Laura is probably an expert in understanding those factors. So over to you, Laura, with that question.
Thanks, Tina. Great question. I do believe from my experience and also what I've worked for, that communities play a pivotal role in preventing gender-based violence, especially by fostering an environment of support, education, and advocacy. I believe especially in the areas, a bit like Frida was mentioning, on education awareness, really encouraging open discussions and educational programs between communities about healthy relationships, consent, gender equality is really fundamental. I know I also saw a message in the chat related to the importance of training and raising awareness with teachers as well. We have also a lot of projects related to gender equality and, of course, girls' education in Ethiopia, for example. I saw that was another comment in the chat. Related to the importance of really having the holistic approach of raising awareness in communities, really involving everyone that is key in the community, like as allies, and to understand the importance of talking about gender equality and, of course, implementing it in schools, community centers, local organization, to be able to really challenge these harmful stereotypes and barriers that girls and women face in the communities. Also engaging men and boys, that's also an extremely important aspect. I think that they can be converted as allies and advocates for change, and that is extremely essential when we talk about promoting positive masculinity, challenging toxic stereotypes, encouraging accountability for respectful behavior, help shift societal norms. So I think these are some aspects how communities can really play a central role in fighting against gender-based violence.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you for mentioning the positive masculinities. I did have a few comments and insights as to kind of, well, where's the equity balance if we're focusing on one, but one is not at the exclusion of the other. So thank you for mentioning that. It's almost 10:02. We are running out of time. I do want to say there's some questions around colleges and educational ministries. I think Laura briefly highlighted the Youth Girls 2 program. It is positive. I see in the comments of the questions that there was some stressors in the relationship when you were within. You didn't mention the country, so the continent is quite big. I'm not sure which country you were working in back in the day where there was some fraction or corrupt heads, but we are working with educational ministries and it's positive with the You Girls 2 program. And please reach out. We can definitely share impact stories, but also give you a report on what's happening within that program. For those of you who are looking, I see a lot of comments here as well of how we can connect. There's always opportunity to connect. There's an info@cusointernational.org. You have my RSVP. And again, we'll be going through all of the comments as well as the questions in the chat. I apologize, I'm not able to look through all 50 of the chat comments. I know my colleagues and speakers have been kind of monitoring it, and so have I ad hoc, but please don't feel that I'm ignoring you if I have not responded directly to you. That's not the intent. But I do want to say thank you. Thank you for your engagement as an audience. Thank you for your engagement as CUSO community. For anything we didn't get to live, we'll respond to you via email. And at this time, I would like to thank our panelists, Frida Misago, Laura Lortie-Morel, Fu Georgette, and Odette Kamanzi for your work, but also mostly your heart. You know me. It's really the compassion and empathy that you provide in your day-to-day work and to others around the world that raises the voices of women and girls in Cameroon and really changes the outcome. So thank you. And in closing, I'm always one to give you the final reflections. So with that, in 30 seconds or less, any final reflections that you would like to share with our Canadian audience and our audience around the world? And let's start with you, Laura.
Yes, thank you, Tina. I would just like to say that your voice matters. We talked about voice a few times during this important event, but I do feel that it's important to reiterate it. Your voice matters in the fight against gender-based violence, and especially by getting involved, you can help raise awareness and create a safer, more equitable world for all. And I really want to, again, emphasize the importance of working in solidarity, and joining us in advocating for change, supporting survivors, and fostering a society where everyone feels safe and respected. And I do believe that together we can make a real difference and end gender-based violence. Thank you so much, Tina.
Frida, do you want to go next?
Of course. I want to almost ricochet what Laura said, as it was really key important words, and even engage more and almost globally say that CUSO International, when we engage into such movement or activities, especially with the communities, we don't neglect any aspects. So even if the training is giving, we also consider the fact that people need to be also educated on what is gender equality. So, and it also represents in our working environment as well, the staff members being represented to work to help those communities. And also we don't neglect the fact that, as Laura said, that voice needs to be heard. So we also give the floor, and also we have partners who are engaging towards listening to those people who are affected by such issues, so that when they participate in our activities, they're also well equipped mentally to be able to effectively do what they need to do. So at CUSO, we don't neglect, we engage, and we hope that we can partner with anybody who is interested so we can work together to make something a little bit better in the future ahead. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Frida. Fu, would you like to share some final reflections, some final thoughts about your work?
Yes, I would like to say that in Cameroon, the Queens for Peace are taking proactive measures by establishing community bylaws and collaborating with the chiefs, which are also their husbands, in their various communities to end child marriage and to hold accountable those who marry girls under the ages of 18. So this is the time for all of us to amplify our voices, to end this prejudice and violence against women and make the women's voices to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Fu. And Odette.
Oui, merci beaucoup Tina, merci toute l'Assemblée. Moi, j'ai 3 choses comme piliers, par exemple. Première, plutôt contre toute violence basée sur le genre. Deuxième, portons la voix pour nos frères et sœurs qui sont au Sud, car nous sommes au-delà et nous sommes leurs piliers et leurs mentors. Donc, porter leur voix pour les femmes, pour les filles et pour tous les jeunes, surtout pour les Prince for Peace. Et troisième, éduquons les jeunes de bas âge, que ce soit les jeunes filles, les jeunes garçons, sur la violence basée sur le genre. Quand ça commence par le bas âge et dans la famille, ça ne peut pas aller encore au-delà et puis ça ne peut pas aller dans la communauté. Donc, comme les jeunes, c'est l'avenir, notre futur de demain, si nous éduquons les jeunes, ils vont éduquer aussi la communauté. Merci.
Merci, Odette. And at this time, as we are just about to wrap up, I would like to mention that CUSO International greatly acknowledges the financial support of the Government of Canada through Global Affairs Canada, as well as CUSO donors and our supporters. I would like to thank our CUSO community for your incredible support. Your commitment to our work is inspiring. I would like, if you would like to join us in ending gender-based violence and what you've heard in the conversation today, particularly in Cameroon, but in other countries where we work, please continue to follow us on our social media handles. You can consider volunteering, as Laura highlighted some opportunities. You can also go to our cusointernational.org website to see the full portal, and please consider making a donation. We understand that this is challenging times for everyone, but no matter how small, your donation can make a significant impact. We are very grateful for your generosity, and we couldn't do this work without you. In solidarity, thank you for everything you do. And I would like to close out with our Skills to Share, Futures to Build video. So thank you.
How do you build a brighter future? Is it something you grow with care? A movement you inspire? Or a life you protect? At CUSO International, we know that change starts with sharing what you know. That's why we've spent nearly 60 years connecting skilled professionals, volunteers, and local changemakers, so they can work together to overcome poverty and create opportunity. To make communities more resilient and give every child a healthy start in life. Join us and help create a brighter tomorrow. Because we all have skills to share and futures to build.
Thank you everyone for your time. Have a great afternoon, a great evening. And Fu, I know it's late. I hope your internet connectivity gets better, and I hope you're able to just relax this evening. So thank you to all our panelists, and thank you to the CUSO community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.